Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into a product that I just bought. And it's interesting how a matter of one day can change your perspective on a product. And today is that day. So, let's get this video started. As you know, I am always on the lookout for really good firewall products. I really love firewall products. I love playing around with them and getting my feet wet. So today we're going to evaluate the UNIFI USG. And that is a small little UNIFI, it's called the UNIFI Security Gateway. And we're going to see if we can use it both for home and in a business environment. And I want to take you through the interface and some other settings on it and show you how it works and show you what features it has. It's funny, I had already prepared this video a week ago. I started editing it and I was never happy with it because evidently there were some glitches in the UNIFI software. Willie Howe came out with a video the other day, or yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, and showed that there had been an update to the USG software, to the UNIFI software. So I said, well, it's not fair for me to post a video on it without having tested it with the new software. So I went and downloaded the new UNIFI software and put it through its paces, and I am needless to say, more than pleased. So I can sit here and prattle on about it all day, but what we need to do now is bring, I want to show you the UNIFI USG, what it looks like, and how it functions. So let's get into that video right now. Alright, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it has arrived. My UNIFI Security Gateway. In my endless quest for firewalls, I have decided, after much consternation and research, to give the UNIFI Security Gateway a go. And if it works out, I'm going to be ordering in a UNIFI 8-port Power over Ethernet switch to replace this Netgear that I have, because that switch is on loan to me from a client right now. So I need to get that replaced. And so let's do a little unboxing and see what's inside. And I'll have to stop and adjust the focus as we go. So let's go ahead and open the box and see what's inside. Okay, so on the side they have your serial number and your USG number, the date it was tested. So this one was 7/14 of 2017. And the little UNIFI Security Access Gateway instruction manual. And here's the unit itself. Try not to drop things on the floor. This is the one that they have relabeled. You notice we have a console port, we have a WAN 1 port, a LAN 1, and either a WAN 2 or LAN 2 port instead of a VoIP port. And then, of course, power connection on the bottom. It's a plastic top, but a metal base here. It's got a reset button up front. Nice little unit. Should mount on the wall or on my rack there. The other things that came in the box, I assume, are a power supply. I don't know if you can do PoE on this. I don't know if you can or not. But it comes with a power cord, a United States or US power cord. It comes with a, what size is this? This is a 12 volt 1 amp power supply right there. And that's pretty much all that comes in the box. So there you go. The first thing I want to talk to you is about how UniFi does things. Um, there's two different product lines with Ubiquiti. There's the Edge Router series, and then there's the UniFi series. Now, the Edge Router series have their own web interface built into the operating system, into the Linux kernel, into the Linux core on that little device. The UniFi devices have a Linux operating system built into them, but they depend on a controller, a separate piece of software running on a PC to actually program and control them. And as such, they can tend to be sometimes a little pain in the ass to get them set up. You have to jump through a lot of hoops. I'm not going to jump through those hoops with you in this video. I've already done them. But needless to say, that the biggest complaint I have about the UniFi product is they're kind of, the way to get them set up is kind of clunky compared to, normally you plug a device into your network, you set the IP in the same range as the device, you go into an interface on the device, add it to your subnet, reboot it, and then all is well. The UniFis are different. They have to be added to the network. They have to be adopted to the network. It's an involved, little bit of an involved process. So I'm not going through that process though today. So in theory, you can put the UniFi software on any PC and then connect to that UniFi software off of any other PC on your network, which is what I do. I find it easier because if you try to move the UniFi software from one machine to another, there's a procedure you have to go through to adopt the units and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, right now, all I have on my UniFi software is a old UniFi access point right there that still works well. I haven't gotten rid of it. It's what drives the wireless in my home and my business. I have the UniFi security gateway, and coming soon I will be getting a UniFi switch. I'm going to get a UniFi power over Ethernet switch to replace the switch on the workstation behind me. Right now that has a Netgear power over Ethernet switch, and I want to get a UniFi switch in here, add it to the lab so we can play with it. So let's show you what I got, and let's show you how I've got it configured with the new UniFi software. Okay, so hopefully I've got OBS set up properly and I have my microphone levels set properly. So bear with me on this video if the levels are a little out of sync. In my next video, you'll find out why I've had to reset a bunch of things, but we're not going to go into that now. So this is the UniFi UniFi software. I'm running 5.6.22. This is the one that they just released the other day, and the one I was running prior to it I was having trouble with, which is why I've decided to redo this video. So let me go over here to the devices view right here, and it'll show you I have my UniFi USG device, and we've called it Gatekeeper. It's connected, it's got an IP address, it's a 3P device. This tells you the version of the software that the device is running, and then I have my my office access point here, which is an old UniFi AP, but it still works under the new UniFi software, and that's running version 3.93 on its unit. So we'll start over here on the left-hand side. The first screen I'm up at is called the dashboard. This gives you an idea of your latency on your device, the current throughput. This tells you how many WAN devices you have, LAN devices. If I had a switch, a UniFi switch on here, it would appear here as one device, and then the wireless LAN. And then over time, you've got your download throughput and latency, upload throughput and latency, how many devices are connected up, what channels are connected on. And then you have a listing of your wireless devices here, your clients here, and your DPI, Deep Packet Inspection here. So one of the nice things about this is if you can do a speed test right here from the interface, just click on here, it'll go out and measure your latency and your upload and download speeds. Let's see what we get. My latency has been a little bit bad here of late. As they add more and more people onto our fiber network, because it's going like gangbusters out here, I've noticed our latency has gotten a little higher. But the speeds are still phenomenal, as you can see. I'm getting more than what I'm paying for. So, but this is a nice little feature of the UNIFI software, and this is something you can program it to run every day, every week, every 3 months, whatever you want. Let me go ahead and close that. And then what will happen is it'll keep track of that speed test. So if I hover back over there, it tells you it was last run a minute ago, our latency, our upload, and our download speed. So that's a handy little feature to have there. The second item here on the left is statistics. So this will tell you how many wireless clients, the top usage, how much traffic. It gives you some nice little graphs down here showing you your access and speed. If you click here, you have a drop down, and what's really cool is they have this, if you click on here, traffic stats. Now, I'm not going to go into these right now, but this gives you a breakdown of where your traffic is going on the network. And we'll come back to this here, or on the internet and the network. We'll come back here in a minute and do a deep dive on this. I just want to take you through the settings on the left-hand side of the screen. So then we also have performance stats, so we can see how much CPU and memory usage we have on the USG device. If I had a switch, I'd have that there. And then speed test stats. So right now there is one that hasn't logged it into there yet, but if we were to do the speed test daily, these would show up here as the latency and speed, and would give me a running flow. That would be handy if, like, I need to give that data to an ISP to show that we weren't getting the speeds we were paying for, or just for my own reference. Then we have the debugging metrics right here, which I don't know a thing about, so I'm not going to cover them. So moving on down the list, we have the map. So if we had a map of our office here, I've never used this, but you can, in theory, put a map of your office here and then add your access points or your switches and give you an idea of where they are on the network. So now moving on, and then we have our devices view here, which tells us we have a UniFi security gateway and a UniFi access point. Now if I were to click on one of these here, it'll bring up some more information on them. So you can see my WAN and LAN connection are both connected at 1 gigabit per second. LAN 2 is not in use right now. They used to call that the VoIP port, but on the newer models of the USG, they've changed it now to LAN 2, so it's completely configurable. You have an overview here with the MAC address, the model, the version, the LAN IP address, how long it's been up. The WAN information, so the IP address on my WAN side, how long that's been up and how much data has gone through. And then they now have a performance stat for the last 24 hours. This is something new. So it shows you how much CPU and memory usage over the last 24 hours. Your network information is here. So if I had multiple IPs internally, for example, say if I had a different subnet with VLANs or whatever, it would list those IP addresses down here. And then the config tag, so I can give it an alias, a name, a common name. The WAN information, it's using DHCP. Advanced, we have all these features here. I don't know what they do, just being honest. And then manage device, if you wanted to do a custom firmware, forget the device, in other words, remove it from this UniFi software, from the management, you can do that there. Let's see here, and go ahead and close that. Same way with the Office AP. Gives you an idea of your speeds, your upload and download speeds. You got an overview here. Your radios that are in use, what channel it's on. Then a list of users, any guests you might have, and then a configuration panel. Just like the security gateway, except there's different settings here. Network, device management, etc. The next one is clients. Now, one of my complaints on the USG, and on a lot of these devices actually, is these host names. The USG gets the IP address just fine, but for whatever reason, it's not resolving the host names, and I haven't figured that out lately, or I haven't figured that out at all. But if you're to double click on this, you can come in here and you can give this thing any name you want to. But you have on your overview here, it tells you what the MAC address is, the device type, IP address, how long it's been up, etc. Statistics, how much data has gone back and forth on that connection. DPI, you can actually go and see where this unit has gone on the internet using the Deep Packet Inspector. So you can see we've got a lot of Netflix traffic, we got some traffic to Roku. And then configuration is where you can name it. So, like I said, I don't know where the setting is for this to get the host names from my local DNS server. I'll worry about that later. But you do have the ability to manually alias these devices, give them whatever name you want to. So I could also sort by all clients, wireless clients, or just wired clients. All right. And the other thing it tells you is, a big thing for me is I need to know what activity is going on a network. Like a client will call me and go, hey, our internet's running really slow and da 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 da. So at a glance, I can come down here and go, okay, this person's doing this. This person is hogging all the bandwidth, and where are they going? Right, so let's come back here to clients. What I've done is I've started one of the computers streaming a video. Let's see if it registers. Let's go here to statistics. No, it's not. I don't know how often this updates. Let me see if I can. I don't see a refresh here anywhere. There used to be a refresh. I wonder if that's under the settings page now. Because it used to be I had a button. I had a button up here. I could just refresh the statistics. No. So I don't know how, this is kind of useless because it's not registering. As you can see, I'm clearly playing a video, and this is the IP address of my machine, but it's not showing us that any data is going through the system. So I don't know whether that's a hitch in the get along or it's set to update every few seconds. Let me go to preferences and see if I have the option to refresh a view. Enable refresh button. They've got it turned off. Now, why the hell would they do that? Save and close. Okay, so now that we've done that, you see we have our refresh button. So let me refresh. I don't think that's going to make any difference. Okay, I don't know whether that's a known issue or they're just doing it on purpose. They just don't... This is one of the complaints I have sometimes with Ubiquiti products. They're not consistent. I don't see any data traveling through on the statistics side, and that is something that I need. If a client were to call me or whatever, this one is, even though it shows there's activity, you notice on statistics it's not showing anything. So I'm not going to dwell on this. Just be aware, perhaps that is an issue with the new software. Maybe it doesn't register it live, but as you can see, even though I'm refreshing it, it still doesn't say there's been any internet activity at all. So I don't know what to tell you on there. The other thing you can do is under Deep Packet Inspection, you can see where you've been, where this machine has been going and how much data has actually gone across that interface. And if we're to click on details, it actually gives us a breakdown of where this person has been going, or where this machine has been going, and the total bytes. So this is updated since the last version, and has much more detail in there. And I think they've even enabled retention, 30, 45-day retention. We'll come to that when we get down below. So that's on the client side of things. Again, I don't know why it's not telling us that the data is going across that interface, but maybe that's a bug they're just not aware of. And then they have this thing called Insights. So Insights gives you a look. What do they call it? Bathroom TV. Oh, neighboring access points. I need to change this to known clients. Okay. So here are known clients. So let's go down and find my machine here. Maybe this will give me some statistics. Nope, still nothing. So, and that was one of the complaints I had on the previous software version. Before I did this, let's talk. In fact, let's talk about that right now. So before I did this last update to 5.6.22, I was having some problems with statistical data that the unit was not actually tracking the DPI data on a machine. It tracked it for one day for a few hours and then quit tracking it and kept coming up, throwing up an error. So I'm sure that Ubiquiti is aware of that and they're correcting it, but I just wanted you to be aware of it. This is why I changed the video and made a new one today as opposed to the previous one, because they had fixed some of those problems and I didn't want to poo-poo all over Ubiquiti software. But as you can see right here, it's not tracking live or real-time people's data out on the internet. So that is one thing I need in order to use it for a customer. But I'm sure it's in the works with Ubiquiti. So the Insight allows you to go out and I guess you can, let's see, we can go known clients, past connections. So here's all the past connections, how long they were connected for. That's a neat little, handy little tool to have, and it lists it by MAC address, but it would be extra helpful if it would list it by IP address as well. Past guest authorizations, none, because we don't have that turned on. Switch stats, we don't have that. Port forward stats, so that you see my mail servers being forwarded and how much data it has used. That is a handy feature. Let's see, let's see, dynamic DNS we don't use, remote user VPN we don't use. Let's go look at the controller logs. No log messages yet. So that's what Insights are for, and then you can sort it, you know, by the last 3 days, 7 days, 2 weeks. So it does keep data, and it does allow you to look at a glance and see how much data that user has consumed. So, you know, the Roku in the living room is the one that's consumed the most data so far. And that is in a last 24-hour period. If we go for the last 3 days, those stats will probably change. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. I don't know how valid this is, though, because I know I have put more data through. This is my PC. I know I have put more data through there than 422 megabytes, or 100. Actually, it's showing 149 megabytes and 10 megabytes up. And that's on the 11th. But if you look down here on the 11th, we've got almost a gigabyte, 138 bits. So I don't know how relevant this information is. If you look here, it doesn't corroborate. I think this is just a matter of me not understanding how often they're collecting data to update this. Okay, I'm going to switch this view to the last 24 hours so that we're on the same footing here. But you can see it shows 151 megabyte downloaded and 12 megabyte uploaded for this machine right here. But if you come over to, and that jibes over here with statistics, so those are correct. But if you come over here to history, you'll see it's keeping multiple history entries for the 11th at different times. So there's at 12 p.m. At 12 p.m. on the 11th. Yeah, I just don't see where this is jibing correctly. And you notice I'm still running this Barnacles video, and it's still not updating the data and showing me that any data is going out across the internet. So I don't know whether that's a bug. I don't know whether it's planned that way. I don't know if it tracks that data in real time or not. I'm just not, again, new piece of software. I'm not real familiar with it. But this is, if it works the way I want it to work, this is going to be a welcome addition to my reporting toolkit for my clients, because this is the kind of stuff They want to know. They don't necessarily want to block things. They want to know where people are going, how long they're going there, what they're doing there, etc., so that they can make sure the rules are being observed. But this is far and away, this and this feature right here, where I can actually go in and get details on where this machine is going exactly and how long it's going there, and how much data it's consuming, is really, quite frankly, very helpful to me. And that's under insights or it's under statistics, either one. So quite a handy thing to have. Let's move on to the next one down here, which is events. If you hover over it, it tells you what it is. So we'll go to, these are all the events. If I wanted to sort them by admin events, LAN events, wireless LAN events, I could further search by, let me switch that back to all. I could further search by errors, warnings, and general messages. Okay. And basically it tells you, you know, this MAC address was disconnected, this one was connected, etc., etc., etc. It keeps a pretty detailed log file of all those events. And you know, more than one page, and you can easily switch between them and see the events on your network, on your UniFi network. Very handy. So you can see, you can put two and two together. You can see that if you have all UniFi equipment on your network, this UniFi controller is pretty damn functional and pretty damn feature packed, as far as reporting and stats and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a stats kind of guy. I love the reporting and stats. Then any alerts will be posted here. And then you have the ability to do a live chat with Ubiquiti. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't need their chat services, but you have that ability to chat with Ubiquiti as well. So again, we come up here, we have our dashboard, our statistics, you can change those. We have our map if you want to use that, and it even tells you here on the map there are 2 unplaced devices, you know, on the map. You can actually go into the devices themselves. You can look at all the clients and you can rename them here, give them, you know, whatever name you want to. You can see I've got a few clients here I haven't named yet. This is a phone device. Just by looking, because I know how I assign my IPs, I know these are cameras. I know this is a phone or a phone server. I don't know what that device is right there, with little consequence, or that device. But you know, I'll find out what they are. But it gives you the ability to look at them and name them there, and then you have your insights, which is your known clients and your history, etc. All right, so now what everybody's been waiting for. Let's go to the settings section. Okay, so we'll go down these one at a time, and I'll try to explain to you best as I can what they're for. So, given our site a name, we've told it what country, time zone. I have not touched any of these features. These are all out-of-the-box features. So, advanced features I don't have enabled. Automatically upgrade. Let's see what happens if I do advanced. And it warns you it can cause intermittent connectivity, client disassociation, refusal if not sufficiently tested. Let's see, necessary and compatible. Okay, so I'm going to leave those turned off. In other words, they're there for you, but don't turn them on if you don't need to. The LED, so I can turn the LED and automatically upgrade access point firmware. I have that turned off as well. Enable, since it's in a lab environment, I go ahead and I do the updates when they come out, but in a production environment, you would not want to automatically upgrade. Until that upgrade has been tested, you don't want to roll that out to your devices. That's my opinion, but I wouldn't. Definitely in a production environment, would definitely not turn that on. Your status LED. So if the USG was in your bedroom or something, you didn't want that blue light on the front of the unified security gateway, you could turn that off. This is what I was talking about on the speed test, where you can do a periodic speed test every 20 minutes, every however many minutes you want to do. Here is port remapping. So this is funny because it says configure VoIP port as WAN 2 on UniFi Security Gateway 3P. Well, that's already enabled. Well, I won't say it's enabled, but this is a little misleading. Why they put that here when they already label that port, and I'll show you, they label that port as LAN 2. They don't label it as the VoIP port. So I don't quite understand why that setting is in there. Maybe somebody else could explain it to me. Maybe not. Uplink connectivity monitor, and let's see, it says enable connectivity monitor and wireless uplink. Okay. Let's see, default gateway, SNMP, remote logging. So if you had a remote syslog server, and then your SSH authentication. So if you need to use PuTTY to get into that, to get to the command line prompt, you could do that. You would need to use that password that you assigned right here, not your normal UniFi access password, but the password for SSH, which is separate, and you can define it there. So, and then we have our wireless networks here. I'm not going to edit on this, but if I were to create a new one, you give it a name, you can enable it, you choose your encryption, whether you want a guest policy, and then you have some advanced options on there as well, if you need them. Let's go down here to networks. So here's my corporate network. And so it's a corporate network, it's a LAN, the gateway and subnet are all here. You can, by default, this USG is in DHCP mode. So you need to be aware of that when you go to set it up the first time. It wants to be a DHCP server. I'm on an Active Directory domain. I already have a DHCP server, so I don't need that enabled. DHCP guarding, UPnP LAN if you are so inclined to use that. And then here under your routings and firewall. Now be aware that before this update, you had, in order to open a port and do port forwarding, you would come to your USG device and there would be another tab down here called port forwarding. They have now moved that feature, so that feature is now under settings, routing and firewall, and under port forwarding. And so there's my port that I have forwarded there for my mail server. Any static routes, if you want to mess with the firewall WAN in and out ports, this is where you can really, you can really get into, even though they don't have a web filter per se, with enough practice and enough training, you can actually create the same kind of web filter rules using these firewall rules. And I'm not going to go into that. You can create these rules that will filter out a lot of unwanted internet stuff on your network. Guest control is for your guest networks. I'm not using it. Profiles, I guess you can have different profiles. Now these are radius profiles, and I guess switch ports. Okay, which I don't have a switch, so we're not going to focus on this at all. Services, radius is in beta. You have hotspot 2.0. DHCP is in beta. Let's see, register client host names from DHCP. Request in USG DNS forward. Okay, we'll have to come back to that. I'm going to have to get some more information on that. That may have a little bit to do with why UniFi was not translating my IPs into host names. I don't know. We'll come back and find out. We'll have to learn we'll have to learn ourselves up on that one. Dynamic DNS, MDNS for multicast, SIP. Okay, UPnP. I don't know why they would support UPnP, but hey, NTP. Okay, so those are the services. Administrators, user groups. Deep packet inspection, and they have now allowed you to assign that to groups, and for example, our networks, no DPI restrictions. So you can turn that on or off, or you could base it on users, or you could base it on any number of things. The controller, so we're running 5.6.22.0. Let's see here. Controller name is UNIFI. UNIFI my domain. I haven't filled that out yet. Override inform host with controller host name IP. Make controller discoverable on layer 2 networks. Enable store, support messaging, map settings, mail server, etc. Notifications, even though that's in beta, they now have a full suite of notifications for all kinds of events. You can send an alert, or you could trigger an alert in the alert down here, or you could send an email, or do both, or just trigger an event. And these are all of your different events that you can trigger, or that you can track. Very, very handy feature. I could see using that myself. Cloud access, I don't use cloud access, so I have no need for that. Maintenance, and here's the maintenance. So your log level, your devices is normal, management normal, system normal. You can change those to, let's see here, normal, more, or debug. You're not seeing that on your end because the mouse isn't captured properly in OBS. So now you can compact the database as well. Let's see, time series with 5-minute granularity is 1 day. Time series with hourly is, they save that up to 30 days. With daily granularity up to 90 days. Monthly 365 days. And non-time series users device events 365 days. So you actually can retain your data for quite a long time. Backup data retention 7 days. You could restore a file. Download support information, show your system config, etc. And then your firmware on your devices, like my UNIFI has got a version 3.9.3, and my UNIFI Security Gateway has a 4.4.12. Automatic backup, so you can set up your automatic backups. Does anybody see here a method to back up manually? Because that was another thing I didn't see. I saw that we had automatic backups, and it did an automatic backup on the 31st. But I don't see any way here to do a backup manually, a button to push for a manual backup. Let's just double check that here real quick. That's very odd. Maybe it's just something we're missing. Because you see that hasn't done one since the 31st. I want to do it now. I guess we'll just enable auto backup, and we'll have it do one every. I wish there was a way to do it only when the device is changed. That's interesting. Every day at 1. Or we could do it every week. Do it on Sunday at 1 a.m. and apply changes. But I just don't see any way to do a manual backup. So if somebody knows how to do that, or if I find it, I'll let you all know. So there you go. That's the new UNIFI interface 5.6.22 and my UNIFI USG that I have installed. I'm going to keep this thing up and running probably through the rest of next week before I turn it off and go back to Untangle. I really want to love this USG. I like UNIFI products, or Ubiquiti products. I've used their access points exclusively for the last 5-6 years and love them. And I've used their switches, their edge switches, which are not UNIFI, they're edge switches, so they have their own interface. But like I said, I want to get a UNIFI switch in here as well, because I'd like to have the whole package and see what kind of functions and features I could use. Willie Howe has a lot of videos on these on the USG, so you can check with him as well. And Lawrence Systems is another YouTuber out there. He just tore apart a 24 port and a 48 port. He didn't tear them apart. He opened them and unboxed them and opened them to show you the internals on the 24 port and the 48 port PoE. And yeah, I don't know if they're PoE or not, but check Lawrence Systems, and he did a review on their switches. So like I said, I'm going to get an 8-port switch in here, a UNIFI switch PoE, and put that through its paces as well. The other thing this doesn't have is, I haven't been able to find it. You know, we briefly touched on the web filtering and how you do that, and Willie Howe's got some great articles out there on how you do web filtering on a USG, by just creating some basic rules and how to set them up. But I did not see an IPS system on here. It's no big deal. I don't know how valuable IPS systems are. They basically bring things to your attention that maybe you're better left not knowing. You know, it basically IPS tracks anybody trying to get into your system, but it also can send out a lot of false positives. You know, people just knocking on the door, or trying, you know, coming around and trying to open your windows and see if you have any ports open. There's got to be a reason they haven't put that on here, an intrusion prevention system. So maybe that'll be coming on another software release. But with every software release UNIFI does, their software, I have to admit, gets better and better and better, and I get closer and closer and closer to adopting them, not only internally for my business, but for my clients moving forward. The big thing I want to do is, I think now the software is at a point where I could take one of these and put them at a client site for a week or two and see how they do in a production environment. And if I'm happy with them, because I'm trying to decide whether this is powerful enough for my 25 to 50 user networks, or if I need to get the one with the larger capacity, with more RAM and better processors. But if this does well in a 25 or 50 user network that I already have out there, if I just loan it to my client for a week or two, I'll be able to tell if this will be a good fit. I'm just waiting for the software to get to that point. It's just, the one big thing I just showed you was that I need to be able to, in real time, go out and see where somebody's going on the internet and how much bandwidth they're sucking down. And as you can see, on this version of the software, for whatever reason, it's not refreshing. It's not telling me real time, this is what's going on. So I'll go out and check the forums over the next week and see if maybe people are having the same issue I am. And Willie, if you're watching this video, check that out on yours. In fact, specifically, I'll even show you what I'm talking about. Go down here to one of your clients that you know is active. Come under here under statistics and see why. Of course, now it's telling me 11.8 kilobits per second. Now it's 0. But explain to me why that's not. I'm gonna start streaming a video again.
Use like a masonite base. Put the box on top.
That's at Puget Systems build for Barnacles. Let me come back here now. And I should see some data traveling, and of course I don't see anything. No bits per second. So, and yes, that is the correct machine that is streaming that video. So I don't know why it's not registering with the bits per second, even though I'm refreshing it. So Willie, if you're watching this video, go out and try that on yours and either prove me wrong or show me where I'm screwing up on there. And then the other thing, Willie, I can't see any way to do a manual backup of the configuration. So again, maybe I'm just missing something. But I don't want to give people the wrong information. So I tell you, like I said, I was really disheartened at the last version of this software. I was like, damn, it's so close. It almost does what I wanted to do. With this version of the software, man, it's that close. It's that close to doing exactly what I needed to do. And it's only a $105 device, man. 10 years ago, I mean, if you've ever dealt with big enterprise customers, I don't. I have indirectly dealt with them. The money they spend on Juniper and Cisco firewalls, and it's just unbelievable what these companies have to spend. And here we have a little $104, $105 device. It just is really, really, I'm impressed. It doesn't do everything the Edge router can do yet, but it's getting closer and closer with every iteration of the software. So I'm really glad I spent the money on this. And like I said, I'll keep it up and running through the rest of next week to see how it does and see the stats it collects, and if I can see anything that's not working properly. and we may do another video on it. So there you are. I hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Give us a thumbs up down below if you liked it. Leave your comments in the comments section. And donate if you're so inclined. PayPal and Patreon, we take them both. Thanks again for watching. We appreciate it. We got some other exciting videos coming up after this one. And hopefully you'll find them entertaining and exciting. So anyway, thanks again for joining us. As always, we'll see you on the other side.